Welcome. I'm Nira Berry, the happiness coach, and your host of Happy and Healthy, where we explore and discover all the many ways of keeping you feeling happy and healthy. And remember to stay tuned to the end for my Good to Know segment, where I've always got something good to share with you. So today we're going to learn some tips about self-defense and just really all different things that we could learn about, staying healthy and empowering ourselves. So please welcome my guest today, my guest Pow Srikachorn and his wife Rita. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us, Nira.
I'm really excited because I know that you do a lot of different kinds of self-defense, and so at the beginning of the show we're going to find out all these information from you, and then the second half we're going to actually demonstrate some of these. Well, actually you two are. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Awesome.
So first of all, self-defense is really good for everybody, right? Of all ages, isn't that right?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. So can you tell us why is it important to know self-defense?
I mean, even just in the term, right? It's self-defense, and I think we've been conditioned recently to kind of wait for help and maybe call an adult or wait for the police to come. But there's one thing that always sticks out in my mind. They say in a self-defense scenario, when seconds count, police are usually minutes away. So self-defense starts with yourself, and you kind of have to defend yourself in these situations.
Yeah, that's important. So Rita, how did you get into this self-defense world?
Well, I actually got into it when my husband decided that it was his passion to teach self-defense to children as well as adults, and wanted to open the compound. So when we opened is actually when I started training, which was just about 6 months ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I figured if I'm here all day, every day, I might as well get in on it because I need to learn how to protect myself as well. So
absolutely. Mm-hmm. And Pow, how did you start with?
So I've always liked martial arts. I was bullied a lot as a kid, but I really didn't start practicing until my second tour in Afghanistan. And I ran into a buddy, and he was doing some stuff. I said, hey, can you teach me? And he taught me Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I fell in love with it from that point.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. So you're both owners of the compound. And what are some things that, you mentioned Jiu-Jitsu, is that one of the things that you teach there?
Yes, so Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is like our cornerstone martial arts program. We also teach Muay Thai, Judo. We have a 100% women's self-defense and grappling class, and then we actually are about to start rolling out our military and law enforcement combatives program, which is specific towards that community.
Wow. So you mentioned that you have a women's class, and is it for? And I know all your classes you offer like for all ages, right, and for all different people. So what do you do differently? Like for instance, for the women's class, what do you do?
So for the women's class, it's tough. You usually have a 2-to-1 split on males that are interested in learning how to fight and females. Well, we found that a lot of the stigma, especially with the grappling and the self-defense part of it, is that a lot of women don't like to get that hands-on with men, and it's very uncomfortable, or maybe they have a past that's a little bit more triggering. And even we actually recently had somebody that came in for the religious reasons as to why they can't train with men. Mm-hmm. So, we offer a 100% women's class that is taught by a female, and only females allowed on the mat. And I literally have guys that are waiting to stretch on our 2,600 square foot mat, and I say, you got to stay off.
Oh, wow.
Yes, ma'am.
And do you teach the same thing, or is it more specifically for women?
No, it's specifically for women. There's obviously that cross between Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and your life is on the line, or maybe there's a really bad situation that you're in. So we focus on those things a little bit more.
And what are what's the difference between the different types that you mentioned?
Okay,
I've heard of some of them I haven't, but
yeah. No, that's a great question. So Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu being the cornerstone of the martial arts programs that we have, it's really, I'd say 90%, 95% grappling on the ground. So Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, they call it the gentle art, and it comes from Judo, which is the gentle way. It's a Japanese martial art, but they say that almost all fights end up on the ground somehow. And with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it teaches you how to fight on the ground, whether you're on top in a dominant position or on the bottom on your back, fighting against a larger person using just basic leverage and geometry, really. The Muay Thai program they consider it the art of 8 limbs, where American boxing you have your left and your right hand. In Muay Thai, or Thai kickboxing, you have your hands, you have 2 elbows, 2 knees, and 2 legs. So you can use 8 limbs to strike.
Is that rougher?
It's a little bit more brutal. It's a striking art. So, you know, that's one of those martial arts where you're going to get punched and kicked a little bit if you're sparring. But, you know, we don't necessarily encourage it.
So, do you teach also, like, I know when my kids were younger, I think they learned judo or karate. Do you teach that as well? Or, because this sounds like these are more newer to the American scene, right?
Yes, so we do teach judo, which is a traditional martial art. So, you know, that's kind of the third thing that we provide. But they're not necessarily new, right? So with the advent of UFC, so I think November 1993 was when the first Ultimate Fighting Championship happened, and that's when mixed martial arts and the MMA scene kind of sprung on American culture. That's when Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai really got popular, and you saw that progression from UFC and MMA for mixed martial arts to like even the Jean-Claude Van Damme movies like Bloodsport and, you know, things like that. So it's definitely been around for a while.
And have you noticed people coming in specifically asking for those things? We
do have some people that are interested in learning UFC or learning MMA. Yeah. However, surprisingly, I'd say 90% of the people that come in are really just interested in learning how to get fit and then learn some self-defense. So
does the person have to be already fit or flexible to be able to learn this?
Not at all. Not at all. So,
can you give me an example of somebody that's come in?
So we have people from all shapes and sizes come. You know, we start at age 4, and you know we have an 80-year-old judo 8th degree black belt that comes in on Saturdays, and he's been doing judo since he's 15, so 65 years.
Okay, so he's had a long time to become that. Would you say 8th degree black belt?
8th degree black belt, yeah. But you know, we have people that come in and they're natural athletes. You know, maybe they're former military, active duty military, or you know, they've run a couple marathons. They come into a class and it's a completely different dynamic. It's in a different environment when, you know, you're used to training at a pace that you set. So, you know, if you run a marathon and you're used to that 8 or 9 minute mile, it's completely different when you're training with somebody and that other person is trying to submit you or get a dominant position, even in just a 5 or 6 minute round. So, you know, it's something that you got to work towards. However, whether you are an athlete or it's your first day in your sedentary lifestyle, you're going to feel the same way. It doesn't matter.
Have you noticed the people that have come in for training, whether or not they're kids or adults, have you noticed a change in them, like from when they first started?
Absolutely. It's one of the joys that my wife and I actually share. So we get kids, and you know, kids are so dynamic, right? So you have 2 sisters that come in, and the older sister is the quiet one.
How old are they approximately?
So I have an 8-year-old, and then we have a 4-year-old. I think she's 5 now. But the 5-year-old is the rambunctious one, and she's mouthy and she's sassy, and the older one's very quiet and very calm, less engaging. We've seen kind of a transition from both of them, whereas the older one is a little bit more confident in, you know, being a leader now rather than just letting the younger one run their lives. And then the younger one's actually starting to calm down a little bit more because she understands that she does have to rely on friends and her peers and her teammates to kind of help her grow.
Yeah. Yep. Wow. That's great.
It is. It's great.
So one of the, I think a good reason to get the self-confidence and to learn all this is maybe also to counteract bullying. Like have people coming in for that? And
yeah, we have a lot of kids that come in specifically because they're experiencing bullying. We get parents that call and they say, hey, look, you know, my kid's been getting bullied at school, and you know, these kids aren't necessarily just elementary school kids. They're middle school aged and high school aged kids, and there seems to be more concern with you know, just the education that's out there about bullying, where parents are saying, hey, look, you know, my kid needs to learn how to defend themselves. It's getting pretty rough out there, so they're concerned about it.
Even for adults?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Adults come in and, they're the same way.
Yeah.
They're just tired of having to live in some sort of, apprehension or reluctance to go somewhere and have a situation happen. So
Yeah. So I know there's different kinds of bullying, right?
there are. Yeah, so there's normally 4 main types. And, we're used to the physical bullying where you say, oh, somebody's picking on you, maybe they're pushing you or pulling your hair or punching you. But there's actually 3 other ones. There's physical, which is the main. There's emotional, there's mental bullying, and then there's that new cyberbullying, which is something that has really been coming up on the scene over the past, decade or so with social media and things like that.
Yeah, so you've come across people that have experienced it, so
Yes.
so that must be very rewarding for you to have them feel more self-confident, right?
Yeah, we had a kid who was at the time he was 13. He was dealing with a lot of physical bullying, a lot of name calling, things like that, and there was a kid he was experiencing this problem with mostly through the summer. They were playing basketball, doing things, and the kid just, for whatever reason, didn't respect him. He didn't think that there was an equal or greater amount of threat. The kid had been training a little bit, and he ended up kind of controlling the kid, saying, look, you're going to stop now, or else it's going to get a lot more aggressive. The kid stopped, and the story went that the 13-year-old who was the victim was walking away. The initial bully kind of sucker punched him. And the 13-year-old was like, okay, well, I guess I got to handle it. And he handled the situation and, again, warned him, said, look, I'm going to hurt you if you don't stop. And sure enough, the kid finally submitted. He tapped out.
Oh, good.
And he stopped. That was the last time he dealt with that problem.
Wow, that's so good to hear.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. So we're going to just take a short break, and we're going to actually see some of the moves demonstrated. So we'll be right back.
Because of you, I feel not alone in this world. And you let me know that it only takes one person to make you feel wanted.
Hi, welcome back. I'm Nira Berry, host of Happy and Healthy, and we're going to continue talking and learning about some self-defense moves and actually demonstrate a few. And so let's just talk about maybe what are some tips that adults could use just even walking down the street. So what would you recommend?
So the first thing that I always tell people is situational awareness, situational awareness, situational awareness. The best thing you can do is just know your surroundings as much as possible. We teach self-defense, we teach people how to fight, but really distance and avoiding it is the best thing. The second thing is always trust your gut instinct. If something feels wrong, then it probably is wrong. Or at the very least, the worst case is that you avoid something until you feel a little bit more safe. But with regards to the actual physical engagement of it, is really just control as much as possible and then create as much distance as possible until either you can get help or you can just get away. Because that's one thing that's almost guaranteed, is that help is on the way. You just don't always know whose help, whether it's yours or your attackers.
Oh, I see.
Yes, ma'am.
So avoid and just be aware of your surroundings
Yes,
and
ma'am.
situation. That's important, right?
Yep, and then if it does happen, just be prepared to finish as much as possible.
Okay.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
all right. So let's just get into maybe demonstrating a little bit of some moves that we could use. So what's the first thing that you want to demonstrate?
So, what we try to tell people is let's address some of the more common things that you'll see, especially for kids. For kids, we don't necessarily want them to punch and kick another child. It's not the best option. Sometimes just getting away or controlling the situation is the best. So the first thing we'll show you is just a very basic two-hand choke defense, whereas Rita, my esteemed colleague and wife, will be just showing how to get out of it and then creating space and getting away.
And this is for kids?
This is for kids. This is for anybody.
Oh, for anybody. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, great. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. Go ahead.
So in this situation, I'm going to just be placing my hands on her neck. She's going to base, and she's going to literally weave out and just push away. That's it. Yep. Most of the time what we see with people that aren't trained is that they try to fight strength against strength, and they try to put their hands on somebody else's hands, and they have to fight that. But in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specifically, you can be a smaller person and just use basic movement to get out of the way.
So you had your hands where? Can you
So I had my hands just on her neck, like I would be choking. She's going to drop into a base or an athletic position. She's going to cover, and then she's literally just going to come in between my hands. Yep. And then just push me away, creating that distance.
Okay.
Yep.
So that seemed like that was just really like almost like 3 steps.
It's very simple.
Very, very simple. So it's just like push and then bend, get out, and then push away.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that seems like, I guess, do people actually get that? Like after a while, does it become like a natural thing, so you don't have to think about it?
Yeah, so, drilling it and running these techniques, 5, 6, 7 minutes at a time, trying to get as many repetitions as possible until it becomes muscle memory is what we're really going for.
That's what I always think, like am I going to remember to do these things when push comes to shove, or, no pun intended. So, okay, great. That was wonderful. So what's another move that you think would be really useful for us?
So another one is you usually see the escalation being, somebody putting their hands on you, or maybe it's just somebody pushing you. Mm-hmm. This is where it escalates from just trying to create distance to actually trying to have somebody comply with what you need them to do through a series or a level of pain, or pain compliance.
Oh,
yep.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so in this situation, I am a bully or an attacker. I'm very aggressive, and I'm trying to push my victim. She is going to just control the wrist, turn, and from here, tap. She is just putting pressure on the back of my elbow, using her body as a fulcrum point, whereas she's trying to just make my arm go in a direction that it doesn't really want to.
Okay. Can you break that down again? Just
Yes.
You don't have to do the whole thing, but just maybe just the first few steps.
So me pushing on my victim here is enough for her to understand what my intent is. And if I'm pushing, what she doesn't want to do is push me back.
Okay.
She wants to let me do what I want to, but just kind of get me to where she can control things. So if I push and she starts to control the hand and turn as I'm pushing.
So she's using your
Yes.
weight.
Mm-hmm. She's using my momentum and my weight. And then from here, she's putting the pressure on the back of the elbow, and I tap.
Oh,
Yes.
because that's painful
That
to
is
do.
absolutely painful when somebody's trying to bend your wrist or your elbow that way.
And you're tapping because that's a signal when you're
Yes.
learning it that means that's...
Yeah, that is my signal for somebody that either you win, I will comply, or I submit to your will.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. And that seems like that's still very basic, and I feel like, okay, I can get this.
Yeah, with the anti-bullying stuff, again, we don't necessarily want people to hurt somebody else. We just want them to apply the necessary or requisite amount of force to get the other person to stop what they're doing. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's very useful. Okay, so what's the third?
Okay, so the third one, this is a little bit more of a serious situation, especially for women. As a man, I'll admit that there are a lot of things that I don't have to worry about as a man than women do on a daily basis. So this scenario is kind of a worst case, if you will, scenario where I have attacked my victim and I am in a sexual assault posture in which I'm going to try to take advantage of her.
So you've already so from this you've already knocked her on the ground somehow.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So this is the worst case scenario.
Yes.
But it's important to at least have an idea of what to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
So,
great.
If Rita could just get down on the ground. The scenario is that I've forced my victim to the ground as a sexual assaulter or a rapist. And in order for me to accomplish my goal, I have to essentially be in between her legs in this posture. From here, I'm going to be on top of her, in which she is going to remain calm because she's drilled this technique several times, and she's going to just basically use what tool she has available to apply a choke to my carotid arteries.
So she's grabbing your shirt.
Yes. So in this scenario, Rita was able to pull my shirt up and create a handle. So she went under, she grabbed the shirt, she circled over and created another pressure point on the other side of my jugular, my carotid artery, and she She didn't flare her elbows. She just pulled them down in a natural motion, which caused both of her arms to cut off blood circulation to my brain. Average, somewhere between 6 to 10 seconds. Once blood is stopped flowing to my brain, I will go to sleep and pass out. For a longer time period, it could be fatal.
Yes. And that gives the woman the opportunity to get up and run,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So, can you just demonstrate again how you reached in and grabbed the shirt and what you did with your other arm?
Yep. So from
Can you
here,
walk us through it?
she's just pulling my shirt up.
So it's like the reverse arm.
Yep. So she's underhand going in, and she's creating this pressure right here on the right side of my neck or the right carotid artery.
Okay.
From this side, she's just going over and grabbing either my trap muscle or the other part of my shirt, and she's going to just bring her elbows to her ribs, cutting off blood circulation.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow. So that's that also looked like it was pretty. Like that people once they learn it, that they can then utilize it. It wasn't that complicated.
Yeah, it's not complicated, and that's the beauty of martial arts. You know, when we think about martial arts, it's somebody smaller being able to beat a larger person, like a David and Goliath kind of a scenario. In this situation, she used very little strength. She just used basic geometry and basic understanding of physiology to apply pressure where she needed to.
Wow. So far, you've shown us like so many wonderful things that so many people can utilize without even being the stronger person, which is really important. So do you have one more that you want to share?
Yeah, we have one more, and this kind of applies to both women, children as well, for kind of an anti-abduction scenario. So one of the things that you'll see statistically when it comes to kidnappings or assaults is the attackers coming up and approaching the victim from behind. Especially in kidnappings and abduction, usually what happens is they try to pick them up and drag them to some place that's maybe a little bit more covered or concealed, and off the lit or the traveled path, the main path. In this situation,
is this something that you advise for kids to learn as well?
Absolutely.
Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, absolutely. This
is prevent kidnapping.
Yeah, absolutely. In this one, I'm literally going to be lifting Rita up off of her feet as if I want to abduct her or take her somewhere, to escalate force. And you'll notice that, Rita's 105 pounds, I'm 220 pounds. And you'll notice that just basic body mechanics, her understanding that putting her head in front of her waist makes her a little bit more in a strong position to turn the corner and put me down on my back in order to create distance. So.
Okay, great. I'm looking forward to seeing this.
And so, so if Rita is standing maybe at a bus stop, or maybe she's just even just walking down down campus after a late night of study, and I'm an attacker and I approach from behind, and I grab her, I pull her up. She's gonna ball herself up, turn the corner, and then throw me down. Whereas she can now create space and get out of the way.
Wow. So again, it wasn't that complicated, and so you basically just like lifted up your legs and leaned back. Can you just show that
Yeah. So the theory behind this, or the concept is that me picking her up this way, and with her being flat and just kind of standing up straight and tall, she's very easy for me to manipulate. However, if she balls herself up and then throws her head in front of her waist and lands in, again, that base that we talked about in the very beginning, falling in base, and then turns the corner, she now has an advantageous position to throw me to the ground. So if I pull her up and she pulls herself up, she turns here, and then she just throws us.
Wow. That's truly amazing. Like that really is, because she's literally half your weight, and that's amazing that you were able to do that.
There's no selling it at all. That is a legitimate, just good execution of the technique.
Wow. That was really great. So these are really good techniques that we can all use, from any age to any size, and you don't have to be particularly strong. Just be able to practice this.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. That's really great. And so would you advise any specific things to do for women? Any particular things that they need to do?
Really, just understand how to be comfortable in a situation. Don't panic. That fight, flight, or freeze response is a very real thing, but more repetition and more practice helps you be a little bit more comfortable with these situations.
Okay. Okay, great. So if people wanted to find out more information, could you give us your website?
Yeah, it's www.thecompoundsilverspring.com.
Okay.
We're located right off of Route 29 in Silver Spring.
Okay, great. Well, I thank you so much for being here.
Because of you, I felt hopeless.
I know it was a joke, but it still hurt me.
Because of you, I felt wanted and not alone in this world.
Because you said hi to me on the first day of school, I felt included, and I knew that I was going to be okay.
Hi, I'm Nira Berry, the happiness coach, and your host of Happy and Healthy. And now it's time for What's Good to Know. And what's good to know is really about avoiding conflict. And there's always different things that you can do, but if you can avoid conflict and just really get along with people, that really is the best, right? And then you actually can forge really good, healthy relationships. And whether or not you have different issues with people, you can tell whether or not they really feel angry or sad just by really paying attention to them, and by paying attention to what their physical body language is, maybe their emotions, how they express themselves verbally. And that really helps with work or in your social life. And very often you come across many people who that you just don't click with. And sometimes they're from different backgrounds, and you don't really quite get what their intentions are. And they have different life perspective. And as a life coach, I know people have different things that are important to them. But if you really just want to get along, you can identify what the other person values, and then you'll be able to get more of a perspective and really have a positive relationship just based on what their core value is and what's at heart, what's really at their heart that's important for them. And then you can make choices, and you can understand why certain things drive them. And that really helps with social skills and in work environments. And you can really notice this by paying attention how the person reacts to different situations. Like whether or not they value money. Like, does a person smile with glee when they talk about money? Or do they kind of slump over? You can notice those things. You can notice whether or not somebody values service to others. Maybe they participate in team sports and really like to organize it. Or maybe they organize the office parties. Or if somebody really values love, for instance, maybe they'll put little encouraging notes on your desk, or maybe send you little messages like that. And you can just pay attention to that, and then you can really, notice what they say, and you could use it to your advantage by really understanding that person, and really the person's always going to be the happiest when they really feel worthwhile and really worthy of what you're going to present with them, and really just to lift them up. So if you can make that person feel worthy and lift them up, then you really have a really good relationship with them, and they will really be very encouraged to work with you in a better way and also in a relationship. So let me know how that works for you. I'm Nira Berry, the happiness coach, and you can reach me at info@niraberry.com. And you've been watching Happy and Healthy. I'm Nira Berry, and your host, and I hope you have a happy day.